Welcome to the HyperFast Agent Growth Show. Get real strategies, real results, and real estate them differently. Lead generation, team building, AI, and more from billion-dollar agents, best-selling authors, international speakers, and real estate coaches, Kerry Shull and Dan Lesniak. Let's dive in!
Welcome back to the HyperFast Agent Growth Show. I am your host, Dan Lesniak. And in today's episode, I am going to give you 3 metrics that all real estate agents should track weekly. But unfortunately, most of them don't. Also have some real estate news with what's going on with Donald Trump. He's proposed some new things that I want to get to in this episode to help revitalize the housing market. I think all of these, by the way, are great ideas. So stick around for that news as well. All right, on to the 3 metrics that all real estate agents should track weekly, but most aren't, right? And by the way, if you track these metrics, right, I'm going to give you a simple business plan. This is one I've learned from one of my great mentors and sponsors at eXp Realty, Tim Harris. This is something that any real estate agent can do for a business plan, right? You don't have to think in terms of selling hundreds of homes or making your business super, super complex, right? All you need to think about is how can I get to maintaining 5 listings in my market at all times, right? Most of the people on this show probably have average commission checks of somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000. Right? So if you can get to 5 listings per month, right? That at all times you're carrying 5 listings, you are going to sell almost all of those, right? Because if you lose one or one goes under contract, right, and you're doing the activities we're going to talk about, you'll replace it, right? So if your goal is get to 5 and maintain, and if you're starting out and you're nowhere near this, right, it might take a few months to ramp up, but then once you get there, it's going to take a whole lot less of a push to maintain it, right? If you can get to 5 a month, that means every month, right, you're bringing in 5 deals at a $15,000 to $20,000 commission check. That is, $70,000 to $100,000 per month. Even if some of them do not sell or fall out of the market, right, you still should be well above 60K. All right, so let's just use that number. If you're selling that amount every month, that is a $720,000 business. And the techniques that it takes to get there do not cost a lot of money. You don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on leads. You don't have to, pay huge portal fees and give up 40 to 45% or more of your commission, right? You certainly don't need fancy marketing to do what we're going to talk about today. You don't need to be at one of these like uncapped brokerages with expensive logos. Right? That's not how you're going to get your business. Um, so you can bring in $720,000 a month just in most markets by maintaining 5 listings at all times, right? And you can run this at a super, super, super high profit margin because what's often not talked about in our real estate industry is net profit, right? You see almost every brokerage, almost every coaching program rewards volume. Very few even talk about gross commission income, let alone net income, right? So, I'm telling you, with 5 listings a month, you can make more profit than 99.9% of all real estate agents, even big teams, right? Even big teams that are selling hundreds of homes a year, but paying, tons of commission splits to Zillow and other referral sources, right? Uh, so you can be in like the top 1% of the top 1% with just 5 listings a month. So how do you get there? Well, you need to track these 3 metrics every week, right? Number 1 is the number of conversations that you have. Conversations equal proactive lead generation. Proactive lead generation equals clients that you can acquire at a very, very low cost and keep the lion's share of the commission, right? You don't have to pay Zillow. You don't have to pay uh, Veterans United or some of these other portal sources. You don't have to pay hundreds of dollars per lead, right? Conversations that you generate through proactive lead generation. Well, what is that, right? Well, here's a few examples. Number 1, expired listings. There are more listings expiring, canceling, coming off the market than ever, right? So there's more opportunity and less agents actually calling them, right? These are people that have raised their hand and said two things. One, I want to sell my home. Two, I'm willing to pay an agent to do it, right? After that, your next source is for sale by owners. These are people that have raised their hand, say, I want to sell my home. They haven't said they want to pay an agent yet, but the vast majority of homes that start for sale by owner, end up selling with an agent, right? So have proactive conversations with them as well. And number three is circle prospecting, right? Geo prospecting. You call the homeowners in a certain area, whether you just sold a home in that neighborhood, whether you have an open house or a new listing coming up, uh, whether someone at your brokerage sold the house in there, right? You ask them for a referral for someone that's looking to move into the neighborhood that they know that would like it just as much as them, right? Then you can ask them for a seller referral because, oftentimes when a home sells in a neighborhood, two to three more come on the market in the next 30 to 60 days. So ask them who they know that needs to sell a home. And then finally, number three, ask them for their email so that you can give them market updates and home eval reports. Right. Then the fourth one is your past clients, your centers of influences. So, these are people that you can call and ask for a referral, right? Ask if they need help. Offer to be of value to them at the same time, right? So it's not just a one-way thing. You're giving and getting. Right. So those are the four just easy, anyone can do buckets. And if you are not spending 2 to 3 hours a day having these conversations, dedicating it to proactive lead generation, you're not going to be able to get to that 5 listings a month, right? So have those conversations. When you're starting out, it might take you 20 conversations to get a listing. Um, as you get better, that number can get lower, right? It can get down to 10 in some cases. So track the number of conversations that you're having every week through proactive lead generation and make sure it aligns with your goals and your business plans. All right, the number two metric that real estate agents need to track weekly, but unfortunately most don't. Number two is your follow-up, right? So many times how many times, and I've done it myself too, right? You have a conversation, you have a meeting, you tell someone you're going to do it, and maybe you don't, or maybe it takes too long, right? So if you tell a prospect you're going to get back to them with information, if you tell a seller you're going to send them a listing agreement, if you tell a buyer you're going to send them a buyer agreement, right? If you tell them you're going to send them a list of homes that fit their criteria, then do it, right? Follow up and follow through on what you say you're going to do. Um, just in my experience running a team that has multiple inside sales agents who make calls every day, the appointments are made after multiple conversations and many times, right? The sale is made after asking for it many times. On average, they've done studies on this. It takes 6 to 7 asks before someone says yes, right? In most cases, people stop after the first or second no. So challenge yourself to get to several no's, right? So when you're tracking your follow-up, track how many times people, prospects, clients are telling you no, and just, have a goal to follow up until you get to 10 no's or 15 no's from each person. All right, the third metric here that I want to talk about to track weekly is the time you spend in income generating activities versus the time you spend in activities that do not generate income. All right. So what are income generating activities? Well, number one, time on the phone, right? Time in person, proactive lead generating conversations, meeting with a seller, right? Listing appointments, meeting with a buyer, showing homes. And that's really about it for most agents. Now, if you're leading a team or you're at a brokerage, like I am at eXp Realty with revenue share model, right? You can also add conversations with agents into that, right? Um, and you can argue that for many people that might be even more important because that's generating income for longer periods of time. But for most agents, right, it's going to be proactive lead generation, conversations, meeting with buyers, meeting with sellers. That's it, right? If that time is less than the time you're spending on non-income generating activities, it's going to be a struggle to get the 5 listings and maintain that per month, right? So what are non-income producing activities that a lot of agents get caught up into? Well, branding, right? Spending too much time on social media. Now I get that you can start conversations on social media. You can create content that attracts people to you. But I think too often not people get caught up into doom scroll, right? And they're quote unquote researching, looking for ideas. Well, here's a suggestion on how to make all of this work, right? Make a calendar, the perfect week calendar. Carrie and I talked about this in one of our last episodes. Prioritize your 2 to 3 hours of proactive lead generation, right? Get that done early, if it works for you, right? I realize some people, you might have family obligations or whatnot, so you have to work around that, but treat that as sacrosanct, right? Treat that as something that you do every day. Obviously, listing appointments, showing homes, right? Book time for that. And then after you've mapped that out, right? Maybe you book an hour a day for proactively generating content on social media, or starting conversations with direct message. And then maybe like once a week, right? You have your doom scroll time, your time to kind of research, get ideas. But limit that, because if you don't, it's easy to think you've been working all day because you get on, Instagram and doom scroll for a long time, and then maybe make a post. And if you learn to batch and schedule, you can get control of that. So um, if you do track these 3 things, you can hit that goal, 5 listings per month. It doesn't have to get any more complex than that, right? That alone, that goal alone is going to put you in the top 99.99% of all agents, all teams in terms of net income, and will help you, build a life that um, allows you to generate income that's far beyond what you need to survive, right? That way you can survive, not just survive, I mean thrive. You can reinvest that, right, into stocks, uh, rental properties, real estate, and really build something that will be there after you sell your last home. All right. Now you can also, and I'm just going to mention it really quickly. I don't mention it a lot on this podcast. You can also do that um, through revenue share. If you're at a revenue share model with eXp Realty, that's been something that Carrie and I have been excited about building the last 3 years. We've grown from, just starting at eXp to over 430 or almost 440 agents in our real estate revenue share group. We love that group. We pour into them, give them coaching, training, mentoring. I don't mention it a lot, but that really is something that's cool because we're helping all of these other agents succeed, helping them improve their sales, helping them build their own revenue share groups, and it'll be something that pays our family long after we decide not to personally sell homes anymore. Um, so that's my goal, right? I know on this podcast a lot of times we talk about other things, but I think for most agents, if you can just get to this idea of goal of like, if I keep it simple, and whether or not I build a team, right? Because you can still build a team and do this. Like you can build a team and let that run as its own business and profit center and build ancillary income from other services, right? You can still have a goal of 5 listings at all times. And kind of have 2 separate businesses, or maybe 3 separate businesses, or even 4, right? You've got your personal sales, you've got your team, ancillary income from the team, and then hopefully revenue share as well for you. Now let's get to some real estate news. Trump's been very focused on housing. It was a big topic at the World Economic Forum. Of course, Greenland was also a huge topic. We saw a little bit of the art of the deal there, but he Truth Socialed a couple weeks ago about this idea of limiting institutional investors from buying single family homes, saying that that's creating too much competition for home buyers. Now, most reports put the percentage of homes owned by large institutions at about 3%. So it's not a ton, but perhaps it does have some effect, right? So executive order came out. He's going to ban the large institutions from doing this, or at least has ordered uh, the government to come up with a mechanism to prevent it. We probably need some more clarity on exactly how that will happen. He's also going to make sure that foreclosed homes and other homes like that get offered to people looking for the home for their primary investment as well. All right, another interesting proposal that he mentioned. I got two more. One is this idea that Americans can use their 401k and retirement plans for down payments, right? As prices have gone up, median home price in the US is now over 400,000. That's a big jump from where it was 4 or 5 years ago, pre-COVID. So now Americans, they're sitting on a lot of many of them of or oh yeah, they're sitting on a lot of equity in their retirement accounts because the stock market's also been on a really great run. Now you can argue, is that just inflation? Um, whether or not that's just inflation that caused that or not doesn't matter, right? People have larger balances in there as a whole. Well, he's looking at the idea of allowing homeowners to use their 401ks and retirement plans as the down payment, right? So that's another proposal on the table. And then the third one that I think could be very interesting is allowing homeowners to use the same depreciation tax deductions that investors are able to use. So when you buy a home as investment property, right, you can take what the depreciable worth of that home is, right? So it's not the land, it's just the price of the building, right? The materials, right? There's a value on that, right? It's in your tax statements, right? There's a value on the building and improvements versus the land. When it's an investment home, you divide it by 27 and a half years and depreciate that much. You know, it goes against your income, so it's a deduction on your taxes, right? So it lowers what you pay in taxes. Only available for investors though. Primary homeowners can't use it. Trump's looking at how can primary homeowners get access to that benefit as well. Um, so that would help people have more out of pocket pay, right, to pay mortgages, and with higher prices and higher interest rates, that certainly could be effective, right? Because now, that's going to help when you do your rent versus buying analysis. And then I should mention this. This necessarily wasn't a proposal, but specifically for housing, but Trump's been floating it a lot more lately. And it's the idea that tariff income, right? Tariff money income to the United States that comes through tariffs, which you can argue that's just a tax on goods and services, right? Like a sales tax. But he thinks that tariff income could replace sales income tax. That probably would be the most exciting of all these proposals, right? Because for many Americans, income tax is one of the highest bills, highest expenses they have, right? And if you reward people for saving, then they're gonna have more money for down payments. They're gonna have more money to pay their mortgage. All right. Now, if you're buying a lot of high tariff goods, maybe that doesn't apply, right? But I like the idea of rewarding people for saving, for investing, uh, for paying their mortgage, right? Paying themselves, right? By paying their mortgage because they own their house. I like the idea of that, um, compared to rewarding people that are buying lots of expensive consumer goods. So that would be super interesting to see. Again, that's something that's just been floated or kind of teased by him a lot less than some of these specific provisions, like banning the large institutional investors, allowing Americans to use their 401ks and retirements for the down payment, and extending the depreciation tax deduction to that investors get to you know homeowners, right? To homeowners just buying their owner occupied home. So Interesting stuff in the news. I feel very optimistic about the direction of the market. I like that the president is focused on this. Yeah, I think with some of the 2025 tax bills going into effect now, we're going to see homeowners getting more refunds or all taxpayers getting more refunds, and some of that will be funneled into real estate. So listen, real estate agents, you should be very optimistic, right? And you should be tracking these three metrics that we talked about today, right? Number of conversations you're having through proactive lead generation, the follow-up that you're doing, and the time spent on income generating activities versus non-income generating activities. If you do that, you can get to 5 listings per month, make huge amounts of money that will net you well over $500,000 in net income. And then you're going to have the money to live an amazing lifestyle and save, invest, and build for the future. So please take that advice. As always, thank you for joining this episode of the HyperFast Agent Growth Show. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Everyone else, please leave a comment, tap the 5 stars, leave us a review, share this with other real estate agents so we can make a bigger impact in the real estate industry. Thanks for joining today. I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to HyperFast Agent Growth Show with Kerry Scholl and Dan Lesniak. Real strategies, real results, real estate done differently. If you love this episode, tap subscribe and share with another agent who's ready to grow.